I've got loads of your questions to answer again, so let's just go ahead and dive right into your Model Railroad Q&A.
This video is sponsored by Model Railroad Academy. Model Railroad Academy is your online resource for model railroad instructions, ideas, and information, with loads of tutorials and articles for model railroaders of every skill level. One of my personal favorites is Alan Keller's Great Model Railroads series. It is just so much fun to look at all of these different model railroads from all of these different great model railroaders and just get inspiration from those. Plus, you can find tutorials on everything from bench work to electronics to scenery, all sorts of things there. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Model Railroad Academy for only $1.49.
Hey everybody, my name is Jimmy. Welcome to Coffee and Trains. Today I'm just drinking some store brand coffee. It just happened to be what was available. If you want to tell me what kind of coffee you are drinking and have it featured just like these guys right here, you can leave that in the comments below, and who knows, you might see your name pop up on an episode of Coffee and Trains. Also, this is a monthly Q&A. If you want to have your question answered, you can go ahead and put that in the comments below, and who knows, you might get your question answered on next month's Q&A. Cheers, guys. Macode asks, is an NMRA membership worth it as someone who is a freelance modeler and doesn't care about much realism and is new to the hobby? Well, here's what I would do first of all. First of all, I am an NMRA member and I totally believe it's worth it. They're doing some really good things for the hobby, and at least in the US, they are the standard bearer for the hobby. But one thing it can attach you to, and it does this automatically when you join, is other model railroaders in your area. And I'm just starting to get involved with other model railroaders in my chapter of the NMRA, but it's just something really nice to know that there's that many people around you that are model railroaders, and it's really cool because it's going to instantly give you a lot of options if you want to operate, if you want to come see other layouts, that kind of stuff. They have tours that they organize and everything. Now, your chapter may be a little different. Some chapters are more active than others, but the NMRA is 100% worth it in my opinion. I am a member, and I also just love the direction they're going with their new president and everything that they're going on social media and all of that. So I personally say an NMRA membership is worth it. Erie Railfan 3977 asked what my opinion is on Rapido model trains. I really like Rapido model trains. Now, they don't do a ton of N-scale compared to HO scale. They do a lot of HO scale, and they do some higher end products, and I really, really like them, but I like them for a different reason. And the thing that I really like about them is their transparency. They do a lot of videos and photos and showing you behind the scenes and all of these different things. They show you a lot of stuff on social media, and one of my favorite videos that they've ever done was actually showing their factory in China actually making locomotives. They took video of there and showed everything that was going on and showing how it's made and all of the different things, and that was just really, really neat and really, really insightful. You know, Scale Trains does a lot of the same things, but Rapido really kind of like, they're really active on social, and I like being able to see that. You can see them on Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff, so you really get to see a lot of them on there if you follow them. Rigatoni6512 asks if there's any other Bluetooth options for DCC controls besides Hornby. And what Hornby does is a little bit different than what I'm about to talk about. The other Bluetooth option that I know of and that I have used is Soundtrack's Bluenami decoders, and these are really good. You don't even need a DCC system to control these locomotives directly from your phone to Bluetooth. What these basically are is they're Bluetooth-enabled decoders inside your locomotive, and all they need is power, so you can just have a DC power supply, crank it up in there, and it will run the decoder just fine. So that is probably your only other really good option for DCC or for Bluetooth control of a locomotive. In terms of connecting to a DCC system, I think Hornby is the only one that I know of, but the Soundtracks one works really well. I've tested them before, and I really like it. James Chase 11 asks if I knew any place that sells HO scale dual gauge track, preferably code 70. And the answer is yes. Micro Engineering makes code 70 dual gauge track. Now you'll have to find it. A couple places I found it listed. It was sold out at Iron Planet Hobbies, and I've also found it listed on eBay. But look for that Micro Engineering dual gauge track. Now this is flex track, and it's not the cheapest thing in the world. I found 6 pieces for about $50, but it is there. Now in terms of turnouts. It looks like you're going to have to build those with assembly fixtures, and the place I found for those is called Fast Tracks, and they sell the little stencils or cutouts that you can use to make your dual gauge turnouts. White Star Hokey asks if I have done a video showing off the design of my in-scale layout behind me, and have I done a graphic of my little yard section. He says he enjoys some switching and wants to build up his own little yard module. Well, I've done a video showing I think I've done one a while back. I'll have to see if I can go find it. If I can find it, I'll link it at the end as well in the description. But I'm actually getting ready to tear this down, strip it for parts, and work on my new larger layout down in my garage. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But before I do that, I plan on doing a full web page on my website for this layout, including some changes that I would do that would make this just a little bit better running of a layout, including the grade in the back and things like that. So just a few changes that I would make to this layout to make it run perfectly. So yes, I will have that soon. Hopefully in the next couple months is when I will have that. Anthony A. Deater asks if I have any suggestions for connecting Kato Unitrack to other brands. So Kato makes actually a connector piece that was originally designed by the Japanese branch of the company to connect to Tomic's track, but you can also use that to connect to Code 80, just normal set track like Atlas or any of those. So that is what you can use. They sell those in 2-packs, and I will link those in the description below. Medi79 asks if I will be doing skyboards in between my modules or doing full 365mm modules. Well, I think I actually have close to, I need to go measure them because I'm not sure if they're exactly 365mm, but they do not have much gap in between them. But I do have enough room to slide some very thin boards for backdrops in there. So, and I will be doing that. And I haven't decided fully if I'm going to paint them or not, or just do something where I buy something pre-made like a photorealistic backdrop. But either way, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on that and how to do that for pretty inexpensive. So be sure to look out for that. Yoil Cake BFDI asks if I have ever made a model train, kit patched, or 3D printed something, and what is my opinion on the BLI B6 SB and HO scale coming out next year. Well, first of all, I have done some printing of some rolling stock in the past, just some attempts, nothing crazy. It's just something that I don't really have time to pursue. I've designed them, but I just haven't gotten around to printing too much of them. But it's something that I want to do, especially for things like hopper cars that I might need a ton of. And for the BLI, the Broadway Limited B6SB, this is an 060 locomotive, and I gotta tell you, I love small steam locomotives. Anytime old steam era modelers get smaller locomotives, it's a good thing because I feel like most of the time the larger locomotives are what get modeled. So anytime you get some of those 060s, plus I'm an N-scaler, and most N-scalers, their first steam engine, if they had one, was the little 060 from the Bachmann Yardmaster set. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see smaller steam locomotives come out because it's something that I don't think has quite as much attention paid to it as the larger steam engines. I'm thinking like, you know, the Berkshires, the Mountains, the Big Boys, the Y6Bs, like all of those. So anytime I see a smaller steam locomotive coming out, especially with all the features it's going to have, that's pretty exciting. Oklahoma Railfan 2010 asks, can HO scale trains work outside? And temporarily on a sunny day, absolutely they can work outside. Permanently, I would probably say no. The big thing actually is the rails might survive, but your plastic is not rated to be outside. So you're definitely going to be getting some warping and all sorts of stuff like that. So you need plastic that's rated to not, you know, really fade and warp outside. So that's the big thing, is those plastic ties you're going to have issues with them. Lynn Mank 1 asks, what about the Rokuhan RC03 for HO scale trains? Well, it's tough because it's in this voltage area where it could potentially run an HO scale locomotive, but you're not going to have a great time running it. So what I would say is probably want to look at maybe something from Kato. It's going to be right around the same price point. Unless you already have one, then I can totally see. But the RC03 is a 10-volt transformer, and that is a little low for HO scale. Doug Buchanan 9434 asks, when and where do I use insulated rail joiners? Well, I have a couple of places that I use insulated rail joiners. The most obvious one is between large sections of a layout that are called power districts, where you can have little circuit breakers meant for model railroading in between those areas so that if you have a short circuit, it won't stop your entire layout. That's one place that a lot of people use them. The other place to use them is when you're using current sensing for detection of trains in certain areas, whether it's block detection or if it's detection for a grade crossing. You want to be able to pick up when a locomotive or rolling stock with resistors is drawing current from a section of track, but you don't want to do that on the entire layout. So you isolate those sections of rail with insulated rail joiners, and you have a special feeder going just to that rail, and you can use that when the train rolls over it. It'll start drawing current from that specific spot, and the whatever you're using to detect the change in current will pick that up, but those insulated rail joiners keep the signal from being picked up from other sections.
For some reason, I forgot to record this one on camera, but I wanted to answer it. TB Model RR asks, does anyone know how to adjust the chuffing sound when increasing and decreasing throttle on a Paragon 4 locomotive, which is Broadway Limited? And he says specifically the Light Pacific. Well, I just happen to have a Light Pacific, so let's take a look here. And what we have to do is, I'm doing this in JMRI, so we go to sound levels, and you can see where they have the F5 chuff and F6 chuff increment change increase, and all you have to do is adjust that right there. If you are not in JMRI or don't have JMRI, it is CV204 and 205 are F5 and F6 for this.
Triad Railfan Productions says that they are making a DCC layout and they're asking how to work with FlexTrack. And they also say, what DCC system do I recommend for a system with a controller that you can walk around with? So a couple questions there. So the first one with FlexTrack is what you really want to do is get some software like SCARM, AnyRail. If you have a Mac, you can do Rail Modeler Pro, and you can get these and custom design. And a lot of these have a print feature where you can print one-to-one and you can draw out your exact design. The key thing here is you want to mark out exactly where your flex track is going to go by the middle line of the track. And I've actually done a whole video on laying track and doing set track and flex track and putting it together, and I'm going to put that in at the end of this video as well as in the description so you can check that out. Also, what DCC system do I recommend for one that you can walk around with? Well, when you're talking about walk around, you have a couple of options here. What you're basically looking at is something that either has a controller that you can move and plug into different spots, or you can look at a system that uses the Y-throttle protocol and uses wireless. So it says right here, you said that you're horrible with tech, so something with a few to none computer tech in the system. So what I would look at definitely for walk around would probably be the NCE power cab. That's going to be the one that has the handheld controller right out the gate. If you're going a little bit smaller, you can also go with the MRC Tech 6. And the competitor to the NCE power cab is the MRC Prodigy. The Digitrax equivalent is the Zephyr, but it's really got a sit-in-place controller for that. So you'd have to go a little bit bigger to get into the Digitrax system. But the NCE Power Cab or the MRC Prodigy and the MRC Tech 6 are the ones to look at. Also, you can look at the Bachmann Easy Command, and you could technically make that a walk around, but yeah, that's not really. I've done a walk around with it, and they used to have walk around compatibility for, but they don't have it really that much anymore. But yeah, so the NCE Power Cab, MRC Prodigy, MRC Tech 6, those are going to be your best out-of-box options. Jason Minier 6782 says that they have a DC layout and they do eventually plan to upgrade to DCC, but they were wondering if they brought a DCC locomotive with a keep alive capacitor, would it still operate on DC? Well, as far as I know, yes, it will. Now, keep alive is actually a trademark term by TCS, the people that came up with it, but basically what it is there is a capacitor on board a DCC decoder or attached to a DCC decoder that holds in a little bit of power that allows trains to go smoothly over dirty spots of track or little power outages and things like that so that they can keep running. They have a little bit of power that they can go through before they can get back to some clean track. It makes a lot smoother operations. I think pretty much every Paragon 4 Broadway Limited locomotive comes with something called added capacitance, which is pretty much the same thing. And that's how I actually know. I have ran Broadway Limited locomotives on a DC layout, Paragon 4 locomotives, and they have run just fine. So as far as I know, you should not have an issue. Kenworth Custom Logistics says that they have 3 4x8 tables in a U shape with an MRC Tech 6 DCC controller. And will it have plenty of power for all 3 tables with just one controller? Well, here's the thing where I think a lot of people get it a little bit backwards. It's not about how much track you have to an extent. It's about how many locomotives you are running. Now, you can probably run a couple locomotives with that MRC Tech 6 as long as you have all the power connections okay, but when you start getting into a lot of locomotives, you're probably going to get beyond its power draw and maybe need to upgrade to the MRC systems that are a little bit higher up there, or a Digitrax or an NCE. So it's just a matter of how many locomotives you are running. But with 3 4x8 tables, that should be able to run a couple locomotives just fine. Although I'm wondering, I can't remember if the MRC Tech 6 can just do 1 locomotive at a time. But yeah, 1 or 2 locomotives should be just fine on that. But if you're getting bigger, you maybe need to look at a bigger system. Geek Chris 105 asks about water slide decals for locomotives, specifically custom printed water slide decals for something that's a bit more specialized, like maybe you're doing a very niche model railroad that you want to run, or a custom one like my Blue Ridge and Western that I am creating. So there's a couple of things that I know. If you listen to Around the Layout podcast, you've definitely heard this name before. Highball Graphics does custom runs, and you can also look at Fusion Scale Graphics, and those are another one that you can look at to do custom runs as well. You just got to go to their website and check them out and see if they can do what they need to do. June McLean says that they are a 14-year-old trying to get into the hobby, and they already have the Kato Jivo starter set, good choice, and was wondering about navigating eBay and not getting ripped off. I found a bit of rolling stock, 2 Kato maxi sets, around 50-60 pieces of rolling stock, none in boxes, and some are in disrepair. Well, when you're first starting out, I'd really try to steer away from stuff that is partially broken. You may not have the skill set or the confidence yet to be able to repair these things and do them properly, because if you start buying parts and you don't get quite the right ones, you're probably going to be really just in that whole space of like, oh, I don't know if I want to try this. What I'd really do is look for eBay resellers if you're looking to go fairly cheap that have a lot of 5-star reviews. There are eBay sellers who specialize in model trains. Model Train Market is one of my favorites, but there's a lot on there. And then just make you a list on eBay, and then make you some notifications for specific things you want. Trainswithaz.com also sells on eBay, and there are some hobby shops that sell only on eBay or mostly on eBay. So that is where I would start. Remember, you just want to get stuff that works first. It may cost a little bit more money, but I would definitely, if you're looking to buy used, look at reputable mini reviews, mini 5-star review websites like Model Train Market, or eBay sellers rather. I would look at stuff like that. If you would like to see your questions answered in next month's Q&A, you can put that in the comments below, and who knows, you might see your question answered on a Q&A. Before we go, check out these model railroad businesses.
Trains in the Valley. Trains in the Valley is a model train shop located in Pennsylvania. They sell new and used model trains with a mission to make trains accessible to everyone. You can check them out at trainsinthevalley.com, link in the description. Penguin 3D Workshop offers 3D prints and electronics for model railroading, specializing in hard or impossible to find train parts, and they also offer custom designing and printing.
Check out all those videos I talked about right here. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, drink some coffee, and happy railroading.